One day in the 1980s, I found myself in Tiananmen Square in Beijing. A large crowd had gathered in one corner of the square, so I went over to see what they were looking at. It was, of all things, a brand new Kentucky Fried Chicken parlor, one of the first pieces of the outside world that had been allowed into what was then a largely closed country. It was the largest KFC on the planet, serving as many as 3,000 people every day. Locals were lining up to spend a whole week's wages to enjoy a single meal there. They'd brought their cameras along so they could record the occasion. For many of them, at the time, the posters of the Grand Canyon and the Golden Gate Bridge on the walls were the closest they could dream of getting to those magical places. When I got home and started writing up my trip, I found I was covering many fewer pages on the Forbidden City or the Great Wall or the Summer Palace than on the KFC. This wasn't what I expected, or really what I wanted. When I began to write, I wanted to write about beauty and truth and the meaning of life. But as I kept on writing, I realized I'd been haunted by the place because in many ways it reflected something very essential in me. It was a blend of East and West, a new hybrid, not entirely American, but not really Chinese. And of course, I am the same thing, an odd mixture of East and West. As somebody of entirely Indian blood, born and educated in England, raised in California, and living now for a long time in Japan. I'd been drawn towards this site and then spent time writing about it because it was a way of thinking through my own identity and working out what the crisscrossings of East and West meant in my own life. That experience taught me never to decide in advance what will be interesting or important or uninteresting. Nothing is unworthy of observation. But it also brought home a deeper truth. The meaning of my trip, what really changed my life about it, unfolded only after I got back home. I spent 2 weeks traveling around China on that journey, but I've spent more than 30 years thinking about what it meant and how and why it might change me.